Hello everyone, Sunton2 and welcome to another comparisons, this time on mobs. We're looking at a fair amount of different mob related mods, or just those that sort of tweak them in a way, such as making them follow you, or die related things to them, and stuff like that. So yeah. First up we have Into the Maelstrom, which is pretty much a sort of dimension mod, yes, but also does add a fair amount of mobs in it, probably more so bosses I'd say. There is quite a bit of detail on the progression of it so far, and for images you can kind of get an idea of what the dimensions as well as certain mobs would be like, whether it be bosses or it be those you probably interact with after beating a boss or just arriving there and having to do something for them possibly. Who knows? You've got Petcraft for obviously different types of dogs, cats, hamsters, and obviously other things such as houses, food pots, and more. So different breeds as well as things to sort of suit. Which pets all spawn naturally, I'm pretty sure, before you then tame them, from memory. You've got Bloodcraft, which obviously adds either harmed versions of mobs, or just dimension, a bunch of other additional items, locks, and so on. You've got None of Pets as another pet alternative. Different cats, dogs, varying breeds, as well as probably a bit more you can do with them, such as dyeable colours, or the fact that there's obviously random skins. There's parrots as well. We have enchanted wolves as a way of obviously giving wolves a bit more to them, with enchantments that allow you to obviously increase armor for them, have them regenerate health, have them not take as much fall damage, have it where they can damage mobs with either slowness or fire attacks, having them heal in a way. Extra mobs, which I thought I would cover in game since there's no actual details on the mod page. It adds in additional mobs from slimes to robots to warriors, parasites, hands, insects, and other such things, besides certain other blocks, armor, and tools, so you can get an idea there. Elven Forest, which obviously adds elves, as well as possibly, I'm assuming, a sort of, maybe sort of task, questline sort of thing. So additional biomes, mobs, and a portal. You've got Mob Z, or mobs, that adds in additional mobs, such as tougher zombies, archers, skeletons, warriors, nether golems, so stuff to the overworld and nether. Different materials, different gear you can get, that you can make after you defeated a few of them, and so on. I don't think it adds swords and a bunch of other stuff, like I'm thinking. Got Zeta or Zetacraft that adds in dimension, ores, materials, mobs with different as references from different shows and things. Yep. Weapons and so on. You've got VS mobs or versus mobs as a way of making it so that mobs fight each other. As well as obviously a bunch of items and blocks you can use and a bunch of configurable aspects. Corgi Mod is obviously a more single mob focused thing, but also will add in additional stuff over time. There's a bunch of different skins that you can find the corgis in. gotten enough creepers with different ones with elemental or otherwise sort of cosmetic differences and attacks. Got a natural spawning Vex to make it so mobs that typically couldn't spawn unless they were with, obviously, a different type of mob can now spawn naturally, so they don't have to spawn next to a, I'm trying to remember what they are, Vindicator, Illusion, the other one. Lovely Robot is a way of adding an assistant that can help you in battle. Beasts, adding in different biomes as well as creatures. And a bunch of other additional mobs. We've got Call to Battle 2, which obviously adds in weapons as well as a bunch of soldiers and otherwise to fit its theme. You've got Kimono Craft as a reference to the show, as well as adding in a bunch of other types of creatures, characters. As well as tools, blocks, and otherwise. At least I think this is the one based on the show. I might be confusing it with a different one, actually. Character entrance animation. I think. Yeah, I may be confusing it. At least from memory. It has been a while for me since I've used it. Let's see. Trying to think. Spawning. Let's see. Texture mobs, bunch of others. No, okay. Maybe I'm mixing it up. We've got Spruce Willis, obviously adding a Christmas tree mob. We've got modular multi-block mob farms as a way of obviously doing a lot more with mobs for farm-related things. We've got referential ones, which I did check, and I don't think there is any mobs in here, so no like characters or from the show or titans at all. There just seems to be a bunch of stuff related to obviously like a blast furnace, grape shot, cannon, rifles, and so on. There's no actual mobs yet, but there probably might be in the future. Hated mobs, obviously adding in a bunch of sort of real life stuff such as spiders, scorpions, ants, slugs, toads, wasps, and otherwise. And there's additional blocks and world gem, which I think I added. So you can see a fair amount of the blocks and such here, as well as some of the mobs like so, which I'll spawn in a few while I'm at it. Witcher potions, which adds in a bunch of mobs as well as Witcher specific items. So you've got the silver and steel swords as well as the armor and crossbow. Obviously a reference to the games and books, probably more so the games I would assume though. You've got a reference to the Silmarillion, which I don't have installed currently. So you've got a bunch of mobs from that book. Got Rediscovered, adding in obviously a bunch of stuff from the older versions of Minecraft that have now been since removed and have been re-added. So things like the Sky Dimension, Red Dragons, possibly Rana and humans and other such things, I'm pretty sure. Now I have additional recipes. zombie, beast boy, and so on. Scarecrows, zombie and skeletal horses, pigmen. You've got peaceful mob loot, which obviously allows you to get mob aspects from peaceful means. You've got rats, which you can use for obviously, I think, taming as well as other additional things. You've got customizable breeding and grow up speed as a way of obviously manipulating breeding and grow up speed for mobs if you want them, to tweak certain aspects of them. You've got natural baby animals to obviously allow a lot more for animal growth, or just them spawning in naturally compared to sort of how it usually is. Skulls and monkeys, obviously adding in monkeys and a few other aspects probably. So additional tools and things, armor and so on, possibly a few structures. All mobs attack villages to change mob AI. You've got silverfish drop fish to obviously change mob loot drops. You've got stupid horse stand still as a way of obviously making it so horses stay still instead of wandering off. You've got mutant beasts obviously for adding in obviously a bunch of tougher mobs. Mob improvements for changing mob AI. Moo blooms for obviously adding in additional mobs that are similar to mushrooms, as well as obviously chickens. Following villages to obviously allow for mobs to be pretty much more controlled, similar to obviously using a lead, but you'd be using an emerald block for villages. Additional mobs that appear in dungeons, I'm pretty sure. Or that you may find out in the world, that are mythical or otherwise. Dragons. Armor, and a bunch of other mythical or fantasy-focused creatures. Extra creatures, adding in a bunch of other mobs and so on, that are for different biomes. Sorry, that appear in different biomes. Zincorium creatures. Adding in the lynching. There's a way of obviously, I'm assuming, spawning or being a sign of sorts. Die yourself, allowing for die mechanics for sheep. So they probably give you dies if you put them over a hopper. Swamp expansion for expanding swamps. Or possibly changing AI of slimes also. Intergenic expansion for expanding on the nether, the end, sorry. With different mobs, blocks, and other such structures. Fairy folk, just adding a goblin at the moment, doesn't have any other sort of mobs because it's still being worked on. Other referential stuff. Different armor, mobs, and so on. And then werewolves, silver, and a bunch of other aspects. Village noses, you can obviously get noses from villagers if you wanted, just as a joke. Lysonites mobs, and obviously adding in a ton of large scale structured mobs, and that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.